Welcome, werewolf fans, Wolfman fans, fans of wolves, fans of horror, fans of monsters. We enter the 1970s here full of color. Let's see what wolfy beasties await us here. Cry of the Banshee, 1970. For the brief moments we actually get to see the werewolf in full form here, it is nothing more than an unarticulated mask. The design decent, a monstrous humanoid reminiscent of a troll or ogre. El Bosque del Lobo, or The Encinas Woods, 1970. Featuring a lycanthropic mental disorder rather than scenes of literal wolfman, the movie was based on the true account of Manuel Blanco Roma Santa, known as the Werewolf of Alares, Spain's first documented serial killer. Los Monstros del Terror, or Assignment Terror, 1970. Paul Naschy returns as the Wolfman, the less beastly here as he lacks the sharp ears and looks more like just a very hairy humanoid rather than blend of man and wolf. Santo el Enmascarado de Plata y Blue Demon contra los Monstros, or Santo and Blue Demon against the Monsters, 1970, with a fresh new take on the Wolfman. Well, maybe fresh isn't the greatest adjective here, as he appears as an older fellow, actually just about that. An aged man with a beard, enlarged ears, and teeth that just won't fit in the mouth, but for some reason, I rather like this take. Beast of the Yellow Night, 1971. Werewolf? You be the judge. This beastie does indeed transform, and its color and attitude certainly fit in here. However, the overall effects appear more as a fanged burn victim than a furred terror. Monstrous, but nothing to howl at. La Noche de Walpurgis, or The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman, 1971. Oh yeah, fearless and dark, complete with numerous large sharp teeth. Really, what more can you ask for, especially for the early 1970s? HOMEM LOBO, 1971. Given that quality images or clips of this Wolfman are hard to find, the design appears like a lesser version of our previous movie's Wolfman, with the addition of large ears. Werewolves on Wheels, 1971. With werewolves designed better than the title, this Werewolves on Wheels features our best female wolfie to date, which doesn't say much, but it actually is pretty good. Dr. Jekyll y el Hombre Lobo, or Dr. Jekyll and the Werewolf, 1972. Intricate fur workings, attractive canines, but nothing to really shake a stake at. Dracula contra Frankenstein, or Dracula versus Frankenstein, 1972. This Wolfman definitely holds more humanity than not, and considering this is a monster movie, it's probably not a good thing. La Furia del Hombre Lobo, or The Fury of the Wolfman, 1972. Once again, Paul Naschy as the Wolfman is looking pretty alright, if not great. Within this fury of his, we are also rewarded with a female werewolf whose teeth are even more oversized than his, which really just added to her cuteness. Mad Monsters, 1972. This animated feature presents us with a gorilla-ish werewolf. It's nice to see the concept with a bit more girth to it. Moon of the Wolf, 1972. A slight different reddish wolfman here. A little too gentlemanly? It doesn't seem that just painting the nose area black worked out too well here. And what? No claws. Rubbish. Santo contra las Lobas, or Santo versus the She-Wolves, 1972. Well, the He-Wolves look as you'd expect by now, but the She-Wolves, to say the least physically, they just didn't do the title justice for me. The rats are coming, the werewolves are here, 1972. Ooh, what's that? Okay, never mind. Disappointing for this day and age. Chabelo y Pepito contra los Monstros, 1973. As for the Wolfman himself here, it's a battle of what's worse, how short his screen time was, or how fake he looks. Seems the former actually helped. El Retorno de Walpurgis, or Curse of the Devil, 1973. Unlike its predecessor, there's a bit more rubberiness in the close-ups of the Wolfman here, and it just seems to lack that ruggedness of being an enraged beast. OKAMI no MONSHO, or Horror of the Wolf, 1973. It's down to animation to once again take us out of the Wolfman box for the era. And in this case, it's a Japanese animation full of what one would expect of an anime. The hybrid form was well done, the lean, stretched out physique added to the anatomic realism. Santo y Blue Demon contra Dracula y el Hombre Lobo, or Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Werewolf, 1973. Doesn't look as if the 70s pushed much progression upon either of the Wolfmen here. It's just Santo and his boy battling some furball-headed humans. The Boy Who Cried Werewolf, 1973. Nice. Not extreme on the ferocity, but look at that snout. Now we're talking. That hybrid point is finally beginning to center or even shift more toward wolf rather than human. Although he remains clothed, you can see the long fur sprouting out of his sleeves. I especially appreciate the lengthiness in conjunction with the brightness of it. Considering how often werewolves are shot in the dark, I think it works particularly well. The Mini Munsters, 1973. Compared to live action Eddie, I'd say he falls a little short here. He does seem older and taller, but where is that gothicness? Without the extreme paleness, it's just not him, but rather a random kid with big ears. Werewolf of Washington, 1973. Not bad. Nice and furry, slightly different tones between the skin and hair, really just overall lacking a little in quality.
Wait!
Blood, 1974. For what's visible, barely average for the time period. Scream of the Wolf, 1974. Another wolf or dog werewolf movie. Actual animal, no fakes, and overall, not a bad movie. The Beast Must Die, 1974. Aside from the story and mystery, for the most part what we get here is a full wolf form utilizing an actual canine of sorts. Works for realism and fogging the mystery, but was this animal actor the best choice as the wolfiest for the part? The Deathhead Virgin, 1974. The apparent werewolf? The best or only good thing here are the whiteout eyes. La Maldición de la Bestia, or Night of the Howling Beast, 1975. A good-looking wolfman filled with facial fur and aggression, and a tidbit of compassion. Las Alegres Vampiras de Vogel, 1975. Nothing great here, a little reminiscent of a Sasquatch with big bottom canines. Le Bête, or The Beast, 1975. Funky werewolf? Actually, he's not that bad, and he does sport an elongated muzzle. Please don't tell me it's down to a strange adult flick to introduce us to the most animalistic werewolf thus far. Legend of the Werewolf, 1975. Okay, so the final werewolf or wolfman form here with the white hair is quite nice. It looks to be inspired by Curse of the Werewolf 1961's Wolfman. I do like the widened nose, large ears, and long fur running back on the head, but the quality is certainly not above average for the era. The Werewolf of Woodstock, 1975. Well, at least we see quite a snout here, even though the special effects work is not believable. Seems we are more and more headed toward that wild and crazy beast werewolf concept some of us hunger for. Quem tem medo de lobisomem, or Who's Afraid of the Werewolf, 1975. Not much to say here. The werewolf's appearance is brief and appears like a generic, scary monster Halloween mask. La Lupa Manara, or Werewolf Woman, 1976. Huzzah! Another female wolfie, and with full body practical effects. On close-up, she isn't anything too great, but seeing wild contacts being used this early in cinema is always a pleasure. Also nice to see the overall change in skin tone. Nazareno, Cruz y el Lobo, or Nazareno Cruz and the Wolf, 1976. Full wolf, final form type werewolf utilizing an actual dog or wolf or hybrid? Providence, 1977. No judgment on the movie itself here. The wolfmen are men with some fur on their faces. Is it even enough to be considered fur? Also, its layout isn't too logical. Areas that would normally be uncovered are covered and areas that would be aren't. Dervaza, 1978. Hardly wolf there, mostly just a large humanoid beast monster, more fitting for a role as Mr. Hyde. Death Moon, 1978. Not a bad, hairy man, Wolfman. It would have been nice if there was more clarity to his presentation. Nonetheless, nothing original or impressively done enough for an audience howl. The Wolfman, 1979. To beautifully end the decade, we have this remake. The Wolfman himself doesn't look like much of an improvement upon the original Universals, mostly just far furrier. Too bad considering it's been almost 40 years since. So werewolf freaks and fans out there, what say you? Large ears on the Wolfman concept, good or bad? Or more humanoid is appropriate? What do you think? Also, which concept was your favorite of the 1970s? And what a sweet decade it was, presenting us with the numerous female werewolves. Bet you can't tell me just how many there were. Stay tuned for the werewolves of the 1980s, here on World of Monsters, Everything Monster. And if you aren't getting your fill of monster content here, we just opened up a second channel that feature our monster discussions with the voices of the monsterhood. We invite you to our Saturday streams. Until next time, stay monstrous, my friends.